Well, I'm going to go there, and I'm representing a lot of people, and especially people that are being killed unnecessarily, like 5,000 to 7,000 soldiers a week. They're not Americans, but their lives, their souls. And if I can stop something, I've stopped 6 wars this year. This was going to be one of my easy ones, but it never works out that way. This turns out to be probably the most difficult. I stopped one that was raging for 35 years, one that was raging in the Congo with Rwanda, you know that, for 31 years. And this one is raging for 3.5 years, and I'm not happy about it. It's ridiculous, and we're going to get it stopped. We're going to get it stopped. I inherited this from Joe Biden, but we're going to get it stopped.
So Vladimir Putin just spoke, and I have the readout, if I could share it with you. He's just said the American administration, which, as everyone knows, is making, in my opinion, quite energetic and sincere efforts to stop the hostilities, stop the crisis, and reach agreements that are in the interest of all parties involved in this conflict in order to create long-term conditions of peace between our countries and in Europe and in the world as a whole. If we reach agreements in the area of control over strategic offensive weapons at the next stage, and then it's cut off. So he seems to be in the right mindset going in. How will you know if he's in the mindset for a ceasefire and a long-term end to the conflict?
Well, I think you'll know that in the first couple of minutes, but I think you already know that because he's coming to Alaska. He's coming to the USA, and I think you know that. I think that's a nice statement. I just heard it. You gave me a little breaking news. I appreciate it. But I think he wants to get it done. I really feel he wanted the whole thing. I think if it weren't me, if it was somebody else, he would be not talking to anybody. He wasn't talking. You know, when I was previous to being elected, unfortunately, the 2020 election where we did so well, it was very unfortunate, the result. But what happened is when I came in, I realized, I said, this is a man that really wants the whole thing. And I think he does want the whole thing, and I think he has wanted the whole thing. But because of a certain relationship that he has with me running this country, I believe now he's convinced that he's going to make a deal. He's going to make a deal. I think he's going to, and we're going to find out. I'm going to know very quickly. We're going to go into the meeting. We're going to see him. We're going to. I won't do what Bush did, look him in the eye. I'm not going to do that. I'll look him right in the eye, but I feel a little bit differently than Bush. It didn't work out too well for Bush. Remember this, Brian. Under Bush, they lost a lot of land. Under Obama, they lost a lot of land, Crimea. Under Biden, they would have lost the whole thing if he had won the president. They would have lost the entire Ukraine. And had the war started and raging. It would have never started if I was president. Not even a chance. And it didn't for 4 years. You know that. Nobody ever even talked about it. But under Trump, you know what? They got nothing. They got nothing. Except javelins hitting their tanks and lots of other things. And remember this, I was the one that stopped Nord Stream 2. You know, they always like to say, oh, Trump won Putin. Oh, Trump is working for Putin. You know, these crooked people, which they just found out now is all they should be prosecuted. They're so disgraceful. But they made up stories. As Putin knows, I'm the toughest one that he's ever had to deal with. He's never had to deal with anybody like me. And here's the other thing, Brian. They got nothing out of Trump. They got no land. They didn't do a Bush. They didn't do an Obama. And they didn't do a Biden.
So the way I understand it, Mr. President, it's hard to find out exactly what's going on in Russia. That's, by the way, they're made up. Even the people of Russia don't know what's going on. It looks like 45% of their economy is military-oriented. Their factories are so depleted, they're having North Koreans work the factories and do their fighting. Do you believe that by saying shrinking down from 50 to 10 days and just a handful of days, was that threat is the reason why Steve Witkoff heard from them that they wanted to meet? Do you think that's the reason we're having this meeting in Alaska? Because you were about to put on sanctions?
I think everything has an impact. When I told India, and which essentially took them out of buying oil from Russia, that we're going to charge you because you're dealing with Russia on oil purchases. India was the second largest and getting pretty close to China. China's the largest. And as you know, there was something in the works for that. And then they called and they wanted to meet. We're going to see what the meeting means. But certainly when you lose your second largest customer and you're probably going to lose your first largest customer, I think that probably has a role. I think he respects our country now. He didn't respect it under Biden. Nobody respected us under Biden, but he respects our country now.
Right.
And we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. We had a country, the market's raging. Look at the reports coming out. Everybody's moving back to the United States, car companies, AI companies. Everybody's moving back. They're all starting their factories now. We've never had anything like this. It is truly the golden age of America, but he respects our country now. He did not respect our country with Biden. Who did?
Right. I know you're a big athlete. You not only watch sports, you play sports. You always have to try to pre-think what's going to happen. You have to picture how it's going to happen so you know how you act. So the one thing that some people have said is the incentive that could get his attention is economic incentives. Are you walking in that room with economic incentives for Russia in order to stop the fighting?
Well, I'd rather not say because I don't want to play my hand in public, but whatever my hand is, economic incentives and disincentives maybe are more important in a way, but incentives economically. You know, Russia's got a tremendous potential. They have the largest piece of land by far.
Right.
It's massive. It's got great wealth on it.
But all they do is oil. All they do is oil and gas. They can't even they can't even farm.
But that's okay. Oil and gas is a very profitable business. You know, that's better than I make shirts, T-shirts. Oil and gas. If you say that's all they do, if you're going to have one business that's good, that's the business to have, and they have it.
Got it.
So they have a lot of advantages going over most countries because of the fact they have oil and gas at massive numbers like we do, and economic sanctions are very powerful, and economic incentives are very powerful, both.
Mark Thiessen, who I know you respect from the Washington Post, writes this.
I do. He's great.
Vladimir Putin's goal is to buy more time. To avoid that trap, all President Trump has to do is hold firm to his stated position that both sides need to agree on a ceasefire now. He will push for a partial or sectional ceasefire. That would be worse than no ceasefire because it would give Russia a military advantage. Your thoughts on his conclusions?
Well, he's a very talented person, and I think he's a real, journalist. I want to give him the highest accolades. I have a lot of respect for him, Mark. I read him. I'll talk to him every once in a while, and he has some good thoughts. And I don't know that we're going to get an immediate ceasefire, but I think it's going to come. See, I'm more interested in immediate peace deal, getting peace fast. And depending on what happens with my meeting, I'm going to be calling up President Zelensky, and let's get him over to wherever we're going to meet. I don't know where we're going to have the second meeting, but we have an idea of 3 different locations. And we'll be including the possibility, because it would be by far the easiest, of staying in Alaska. We have big flights and he has the same thing. We have a lot of planes going when the head of Russia, the head of the United States, et cetera, go.
So, Mr. President, did you tell Zelensky to be ready? Did you tell him to be ready to come should you start making legitimate progress?
I don't want to talk about a second meeting even to him. I don't want to even indicate there might be a second meeting. Maybe there will, maybe there won't. So I don't want to talk that. It's not.
Okay.
It's not important enough. But it would be certainly convenient if we had a very good meeting, because I'm going to let them negotiate their deal. I'm not going to negotiate the deal. I'm going to let them negotiate their deal. So we're going to be calling President Zelensky if it's a good meeting. If it's a bad meeting, I'm not calling anybody. I'm going home. I'll call you. I'll do Fox and Friends some morning, and we'll have a lot of fun. But if it's a good meeting, I'm going to call President Zelensky and the European leaders, who, as you know, I have a very good relationship with. They agreed to pay 5%, and nobody thought they'd even pay 2%. They were paying 2%, but they weren't paying it, a lot of them. So, and they're paying 5%. They're very unified. I've never seen anything like it. Nobody can believe what we did. I saved NATO. I saved it the first time and made it very rich the second time. So it's it's quite an achievement, I think.
I know you were on with him for about an hour yesterday, but just on what you were saying, the way I understand it, Caroline Levitt had joined Fox and Friends today, and she said the format is, if I got it right, is you're going to meet, and there's going to be a press conference after. Will you be shoulder to shoulder with Vladimir Putin again? Last time was Helsinki?
We haven't. I thought we had a great press conference last time. It was the fake news tried to make it bad, in particular MSDNC. They tried to make it bad. These are very dishonest people, but it was a great news conference. It was rated phenomenal, and then about 2, 3, 4 hours later, they came up with this stupid scheme about me and Russia and what did we say at the meeting and, where do we get the tapes, the old story. But, no, I thought we had a great meeting. And don't forget, we were under a lot of pressure because we had the Russia hoax going on. So I told him, I said, it's going to be very hard. And he told me, too. He understood. I said, it's going to be very hard for us to make an economic development deal of any kind because I have the Russia hoax going on. And anything I do with Russia...
That was 2017.
Say, I'm owned by Putin, which is not even close.
So, Mr. President, you were going to have a press conference today after the meeting, correct?
I'm going to have a press conference. I don't know if it's going to be a joint. We haven't even discussed it. I think it might be nice to have a joint and then separates. So something like that will happen. Or if the meeting doesn't end well, I'll just have a press conference and head out. I'll head back to Washington.
So if it's not positive, you might head back. Is there any situation?
No, and positive. I will head back.
Oh, I know that. I mean, you'll just head right back. You won't have the press conference. I know you're coming back, but
no, I would say I'll have a press conference in either event. If it's a negative, I'll have a press conference to say that the war is going to go on, and these people are horribly going to continue to shoot each other and kill each other, and I think it's a disgrace. And I'll head back to Washington, or I'll have a press conference that's positive. In doing 6 wars, 6 wars, think of it, and I obliterated, and now the term obliterated can be used because the Atomic Energy Commission, everybody said, total obliteration. These pilots did a phenomenal job. CNN and their fake reporter tried to, who's just a scammer, CNN tried to say that, well, maybe the hit wasn't quite as good.
Right.
Maybe it wasn't obliteration. Maybe, anything to hurt people, anything to demean. And in this case, they were demeaning the incredible people that flew in an airplane for 36 hours back and forth and did one of the most perfect attacks in the history of our country. No, it was a total obliteration.
And, of course, him talking about Iran. We had a great conversation with President Trump. It went about 40 minutes. You just heard about 17. When we come back, among the things we'll talk about is what would failure be like? How is there any scenario where this meeting in Alaska would be a failure?
So let's talk about, there's so much going on, and my last question to this real quick, is there any scenario where Donald Trump will look at this meeting in Alaska and say, this was not worth it, I failed?
Yeah, 25%.
And you would say that if he just says, hey, I'm going to stay with
all the time and energy and went over there and we didn't come out with, in a short period of time, not from this meeting. This meeting sets up the second meeting. The second meeting is going to be very, very important because that's going to be a meeting where they make a deal. And I don't want to use the word divvy things up, but, to a certain extent, it's not a bad term, okay? But there will be a give and take as to boundaries, lands, et cetera, et cetera. The second meeting is going to be very, very important. This meeting sets up, it's like a chess game. This meeting sets up the second meeting. But there is a 25% chance that this meeting will not be a successful meeting, in which case I will run the country, and we have made America great again already in 6 months.
And you'll hit them with consequences, right? You'll hit them with more sanctions. The Senate sanctions go front and center if he disrespects. Yeah?
Oh, sure. If it's not solved, look, again, we didn't lose any soldiers. We didn't lose anybody. But this was a war. If I didn't get in here, this could have been World War III, I'm telling you. Biden had no idea. He had no clue what was happening. This was getting so bad. And at a minimum, I've calmed it way down.
So
I think you'd agree with that. Way, way down. But they're still losing thousands of soldiers a week. And we have to get that taken care of.
So in Washington, D.C., you did something substantial, and that is put the National Guard in, federalized troops, got rid of the sanctuary city status, and for 30 days, you're trying to bring some semblance of order, extreme order to Washington, D.C. I want you to hear what the mayor said about what you're doing. This is Mayor Muriel Bowser, and here's what she said, cut to.
We all need to do what we can in our space, in our lane, to protect our city. and to protect our autonomy and get to the other side of this guy. Make sure we elect a Democratic House so that we have a backstop to this authoritarian push.
She's not welcoming the additional law enforcement.
Well, she actually is, but she doesn't want to say it, okay? Because crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control, worse than ever. And as you know, they fired or something happened to the person that does the stats because they wanted him in this case, I think, to do stats which were much better in terms of crime. And they were changing crimes to, this kind of a crime, that kind of a crime doesn't get counted anymore and all that.
So you don't believe those stats?
It's actually worse. It's worse now than ever before. You know that. Anybody that lives here knows that. I have never had so many calls thanking me. I tell you.
Right.
And I look at those streets, and those streets are safe, and they're going to be very safe in a week or so. Look what I did at the border. I had millions of people coming in the year before. Think of it. Millions and millions of people. And without legislation, Biden said we have to get legislation changed. You didn't need anything. That was just an excuse for incompetence.
What would
the last 3 months, Brian, we had zero people. It was a 0, 0, and 0. Even I find that hard to believe, but it's like, it's like somebody did it. And I hear the people that do it are the same people that were doing the BLS and all the other different things that they do with the fake reports. But you know what? They gave it a 0. I'll take it. But essentially, it's very close to 0 or it's 0 for 90 days now. Nobody believes it's, even the Republicans camp. I'm getting calls from senators and congressmen and women, and they're saying that's amazing. But that is, frankly, I believe it's more difficult than what we have here. But we have inherently some very, very dangerous people living in Washington, D.C., and we got to get them out.
And the president's focusing on doing just that. President of the United States, 45th and 47th, giving us some quality time today. When we come back, you're going to hear more from him, not only talking about what happened with Russia, but we also move on and talk about what's happening with crime in other cities, with Governor Gavin Newsom giving him such a hard time when it comes to gerrymandering, and how the Republicans have a lot more cards to play. And the president fully realizes that, along with a refugee or someone being held wrongly in China, and what the president can do to get the self-made billionaire out, who's a real friend of the West.
Want even more Fox News on YouTube? Become a Fox News Patriot today. Click join to find out how.